Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth branch program, the place for common sense. Today is Tuesday, May 21st, 2019. I am MD, host of the fourth branch program. We will be reading from the Mueller's report. We have been doing that for the past few weeks with one purpose in mind: to help those who don't have any time to read any such lengthy report, at least to hear about it directly from the source. We do not add nor subtract from it. We do not try to translate, to interpret, but rather just simply to read. But today we also would like to take a quick look at something that's troubling. It is troubling because when you think about the fact that there is a war, an ongoing war, that sometimes you feel helpless, you don't know what to think of your neighbor, the neighbor next door, or your colleague at work, because you're trying to understand how in the world that an individual can justify certain action, certain decision. Of course, if you miss what I'm getting at is the country has had a bad president, mediocre president, and outright incompetent president. But never in the history of the Republic has the country had someone who is disloyal to the country, someone who cannot care less about the plight of the country, someone who decide not just privately but publicly to divide the country. And yet, those people who support him, line up behind him, cheer him, applaud him for doing exactly that. So yes, that has to give you pause, and sometimes you even have to question your own sanity. Because if I tell you that I never thought that I would see the time, the day when you have people in the United States of America going along with an individual completely destroying the guardrail of democracy and feel it's okay. But what actually makes me feel even more sad about the whole situation is when you think about legislators, Republican legislators going along with it. Now, for people on the Republican side who feel it's good that people like Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, and company, they all helping Trump destroying the institution. And by destroying the institution, I'm not just saying that vaguely, nonchalant way, as if this is just a word, this is just an expression, or this is just a piece of conversation. What has made America the envy of the world, and why so many countries try to emulate, to even copy the form of government we have, is because for as long as this republic has been in existence, the idea of checks and balances have always been appealing to other nations, because everybody always believed or think, at least as human being, that if someone has power and that person in that power doesn't have any limit, then it is just a matter of time before that person become a dictator. Personally, as I mentioned several times here, I am very sensitive to the fact that when you see certain sign of certain things happening, you cannot just shrug it off because it is a movie that the world has seen before. I had a documentary, 6, 7, 8 hours worth of video, in which I asked the question, can we compare Donald Trump with Adolf Hitler? Of course, people who support Donald Trump shrug it off, quip, and they label me as lunatic, damn liberal, and so on and so forth. Well, I so happen to study international history, world history, and one of the things that I'm very sensitive to is when you see certain behavior in a leader, you cannot simply shrug it off, you cannot simply ignore it, because history in the world tells us exactly what will come next. And I'm sure not everybody is, although not everybody is, would be interested in world history, but most people would be aware that World War II was mostly fought, and millions and millions and millions of lives were lost, and the amount of casualties were immeasurable just because of one individual. The name is Adolf Hitler. But most people think of Adolf Hitler as a dictator, and that's the extent to which they okay to accept that this is a mistake of the past and let's just move on. As a student of world history, however, I think I know it's not really as simple as that. During the time I was doing the documentary, I took great care to point out to Adolf Hitler was legitimately appointed Chancellor of Germany, and he followed to the letter all the necessary steps in order to consolidate power within the boundaries of democracy. I mentioned it before, Germany was that time called the Weimar Republic. Germany was a democracy. It had a chancellor, it has a Reichstag and a Reichsrat, which are the equivalent of Congress and the Senate. And everything, when after Adolf Hitler was legitimately appointed Chancellor of Germany, that January 30th, 1933, Adolf Hitler followed the whole system, the way that everything in a democracy works. So when people think of Adolf Hitler as a dictator, they think he just wake up and become a dictator. Yes, he must have the inclination to be a dictator, but he went by the book. He followed the process of the system of democracy in Germany at that time. When he wanted something to be passed, he went to Reichstag and Reichsrat, meaning he went to Congress and the Senate to get it passed. And that's how he consolidated power. So which means had Congress and the Senate not given him what he was after, the world would have never had a monster such as Adolf Hitler. I want you to understand that a democracy is not an inheritance. You can lose it as fast as you lose anything else in life. People in America are always very complacent. They always think tragedies would not happen to them because, well, they cannot fathom the idea. That's exactly what happened when 9/11 happened. You would have asked any American that whether they believe something like that could happen in America, they would tell you absolutely not. Today is a whole different story because 9/11 happened. And yet we're watching the movie, a movie that's not, that the ending wasn't good. And yet we're watching it again right here in the United States of America. We're watching a president removing all the guardrail of democracy. Donald Trump, since the beginning of time, has been labeling the media of fake news. You know what's ironic? Adolf Hitler was doing exactly that. Now, fake is a new term. Adolf Hitler was accusing the media of fabrication. The way that dictators are born, they remove any measure that places check and balance on them so that they can acquire and consolidate power. And we're seeing the movie right here in America again. But what's troubling is the fact that just like it was in Germany in 1933, Reichstag and Reichsrat went along with Adolf Hitler. Today, Congress and the Senate, the Republican Congress and the Senate, have been all in going along with Donald Trump. Just like it was in Germany, Reichstag and Reichsrat job were to place a check on the chancellorship. Here in America, Congress and the Senate are to place a check to exercise oversight on the executive branch. And guess what happened in Germany in 1933? Reichstag and Reichsrat just relinquished their duty and then instead supported, defended Adolf Hitler. Here in America, the Republican Congress and the Senate relinquished their duty, and what do? They completely support, defend, and shield Donald Trump. Just like we thought 9/11 couldn't happen in America. As a student of world history, I've seen that movie before, and I'm looking at it happening right here in the United States of America. The people in Germany worship Adolf Hitler. They revere Adolf Hitler. The people here in America who support Donald Trump worship Donald Trump. He can do no wrong. The only difference between Adolf Hitler in Germany in 1933 and Donald Trump today is, unfortunately for the world, Adolf Hitler had the support of the whole country. That's the only difference so far. Because contrary to here, where you only have just the Republicans, both legislators and constituents, completely blinded, worshipping a man. In Germany, the situation was much different. It was virtually the whole country. Adolf Hitler was a very charismatic guy who could easily charm and convince people. Here, Donald Trump supporters, they don't care that Donald Trump lied to them. They don't care that Donald Trump is destroying the guardrail of democracy. They don't care that Donald Trump is profiting from the presidency. They just don't care. The exact same thing that happened in Germany is happening right here in America. Now, the only hope we have is the fact that Germany, the whole country, was in for Adolf Hitler. Here, fortunately, we still have a sector of the population who know better. But the bigger problem, both in Germany and here in the United States, is the following. The legislative branch, whose primary job is to exercise oversight on the executive branch, relinquished that job to the chancellorship in 1933. Today, Republican and the Senate relinquished their job to the executive branch. So when people think there is no comparison, people who are supporters of Donald Trump, people who are, sometimes it's not even supporters of Donald Trump, Americans would think the comparison is too stretched too far. Adolf Hitler did not start as a dictator. Yes, he may have had dictator's tendency, inclination, but he started as a legitimate individual in a post, and he went by the book. Everything that was said, that was dictated by the Constitution of Germany at that time, Adolf Hitler went by the book. Much less that we can say about Donald Trump here, ironically, because Donald Trump actually just completely bypassed the Constitution. Interestingly enough, Adolf Hitler did not. In fact, when his staunch supporters suggested that he overthrew the government, at that time the president, in order for him to get complete power, Adolf Hitler said, no, we're not going to do that. So when people think that this kind of thing cannot happen in America, I'll say only one thing. 9/11 happened when everyone in America would not even blink an eye, bat an eye to say, no, those kind of things cannot happen in America. And yet, it happened. So we're going to read from the Mueller's report. You may recall that we are up to this point, we are still reading the executive summary, and we're going to continue doing that. We are on page, for the report as a whole, we're going to start at page 31, but on the at the bottom of the page of the report itself, it says page 23. So I'm not sure where the discrepancy comes from, whether a few pages were added, removed, subtracted, whatever the case is. If you have the full report in front of you, what I'm about to read to you comes from page 31. But again, at the bottom of the report itself, at each page, they have different page number from the actual page that the document generates. So I'm assuming maybe they could have used much longer pages like legal paper. So I'm just speculating here. But in any case, we're going to start from page 31. Page 31, first paragraph, which seems to be almost 6-7 sentences, completely redacted. The following paragraph, which seems to be almost half of the page, is also completely redacted. The next place we can read from that page is, it says, by February 2016, internal IRA document referred to support for the Trump campaign and opposition candidate and opposition to candidate Clinton. For example, something is redacted here. For example, redacted portion, direction to IRA operators, and the whole sentence next to what I just read is redacted. Main idea, use any opportunity to criticize Hillary Clinton and the rest except Sanders and Trump. We support them. That's what's read on the report. The following the remaining part of this paragraph is completely redacted. The focus on the U.S. presidential campaign continued throughout 2016. In a word here is redacted. In blah 2016 internal, another word is redacted. Internal blah reviewing the IRA control Facebook group secured borders. The author criticized the lower number of posts dedicated to criticizing Hillary Clinton and reminded the Facebook specialists it is imperative to intensify criticizing Hillary Clinton. Now, before I continue with the reading, let's take a look at the footer from the page that we just read. Footnote 47, completely redacted. 48, C, E.G., SM-2230634, serial 131. Next portion redacted. Footnote 49, the IRA posted content about the Clinton candidacy before Clinton officially announced her presidential campaign. IRA controlled social media accounts criticized Clinton's record as Secretary of State and promoted various critics of her candidacy. The IRA also used other candidates, and the next portion that I'm assuming would provide the candidate information, completely redacted. The next part says CSM-2230634, serial 70. Footnote 50, completely redacted. Now back to the reading of the page. We're on the next page. IRA employees also acknowledge that their work focused on influencing the U.S. presidential election. Next sentence redacted. Next paragraph completely redacted. Number 3, U.S. operation through Facebook. Many IRA operations used Facebook accounts created and operated by its specialists. The following sentence to this paragraph is redacted, and the next half of the page is completely redacted. IRA Facebook groups active during the 2016 campaign covered a range of political issues and included purported conservative. Footnote 51, completely redacted. Footnote 52, completely redacted. Footnote 53 and 54, completely redacted. The IRA Facebook groups active during the 2016 campaign covered a range of political issues and included purported conservative groups with names such as being patriotic, stop all immigrants, secured borders, and Tea Party news, purported black social justice group, Black Matters, Blacktivist, and Don't Shoot Us, LGBTQ group, LGBT United, and religious group, United Muslim of America. Throughout 2016, IRA accounts published an increasing number of material supporting the Trump campaign and opposing the Clinton campaign. For example, on May 31st, 2016, the operational account Matt Skiber began to privately message dozens of pro-Trump Facebook groups asking them to help plan a pro-Trump rally near Trump Tower. We will continue that conversation in segment 2 of this program. You are on the first on the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. We are reading from the Mueller's report. That was an update through the prism of common sense. Join us again at the top of the hour. I am MD, host of the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. Send us comments, criticism, suggestion, or simply let us know how we're doing. Thank you for watching. See you in just a bit. The Fourth Branch podcast is brought to you in collaboration with the People Branch publication, which can be found on the People Branch website, located at peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org website, in which you will find a number of very interesting articles. My name is Mike Duchesne, MD for short. I hope you have a great afternoon or a great evening, whichever it happens to be. Hopefully you can join me again next time for another interesting episode of this podcast. That was the Fourth Branch, live from New York. Good day.